people have started reacting to what we... Now, we gave out the Twitter handle earlier on, and it's been running. You can send your tweets to at Edo Voices, and you can use the hashtag Edo Decide. And so there's a number that has been on all the while, 090-958-71177. You can send text messages. Now, we have some texts here for you, reaction, and the first here about several of them border on school fees. Now, this one says, Edo University school fees is on the high side. Please ask Governor to be Obaseki to reduce it because I want to withdraw my children to other universities. Then the next one is similar to it. By September 10th, you would have been elected governor of Edo State. I want my children to study at Edo University, Yamo, but the school fees of 500,000 is scaring. Please try and reduce it, even if it is by half. I will definitely mobilize votes for you. That's a reaction. Then there's another one from Irabo. He says, help me ask my governor to be come September 10. What is he going to do about the high school fees being charged by Edo University? It's killing us.
Oh, thank you. You see, here again, this is the policy dilemma we face as a country. But, you know, how do you fund, first, how do you fix and fund university education in Nigeria? Today, most of our universities are funded from two sources, endowments and tuition. Most of the universities in Nigeria today, especially the government-owned ones, are not charging what I call sustainable tuition. And they do not have large endowments, that is, someone who's putting the money in them. Because the owners, which is usually government, has competing needs for its scarce and limited resources. If I had 100 naira as a government to spend on education, how should I spend it? How much should I allocate to primary? How much to secondary? How much to technical vocational? And how much to universities? So that pool is limited. And that's created a problem where most people, most parents, even university lecturers, send their own children abroad. They don't send their children to the schools where they're teaching. That means there's something fundamentally wrong. They send them abroad. If they cannot send them to Europe or America, they send them to other African countries. And they pay dollars. So the issue for us as government was, look, why not begin to rethink university education? I think it's about two things. It's about the quality of education you receive and affordability. People who send their children abroad clearly feel that the quality isn't here. That's why they're sending them. Even when they cannot afford it, they go and struggle, sell properties, do all what they need to do to afford it. That tells you the value and importance they place in it.
So how do you plan to tackle this to affordability and quality of education as far as Edo is concerned?
In the case of Edo, first, I think I want to emphasize quality. So Edo University is about first trying to bring in a quality education. The way we conceive it is first the government will endow by creating the university and its infrastructure, and then it will run itself through tuition. That's a complaint we have. However, the issue of affordability is where I now come in as government to say, well, we will now provide as many scholarships as possible and also try and attract resources from other agencies to provide scholarships. And there are many institutions that do that in Nigeria. So it's about that if you can get an admission into that university, then you should be able to afford to stay in that university and graduate from the university. But let's not say it's cheap, it's free, but it's of no value because nobody wants to send their children there.
All right. I mean, I guess with your background in finance and, of course, asset management, that should put you in good stead to be able to actually manage the finances and the resources of Edo State. Now, let's look at one of your, you have a 10-point agenda on your manifesto, and the plan is to, empower the youth, the women, and all of those. Now, a major challenge, what many people in Edo State have been complaining about is the tax burden. they've been complaining seriously about the heavy taxation. How do you plan to drive all of these, visions you have on your manifesto without necessarily, having to add more burden to, the tax system and all of that in Edo State?
Here again, it's about, the opposition's, I think, how would I describe it? They have a very, rather than spend time on issues, they have a penchant for massive propaganda. That you give to them, manipulating, information and lying.
Are you saying the whole talk about taxation has been propaganda on the part of the opposing party?
160,000 people pay tax in Edo State.
But if that is
let me
it,
explain what the issues.
who do we hold responsible?
Let me explain what the issues are.
Right.
So first, it's about fairness. Before we came in, we had, we had tax laws. They were collecting taxes in Edo State. Two things. One, they were not collecting appropriate taxes because it's either you're doing something or you're not doing it. If the law says you will pay X amount as your personal income tax and you pay it, it should be checked off your salary every month. Why would some people go negotiate, institutions go and negotiate and say, no, don't take the 10% which the law says, take only 5% from us. He came in and said, no, this is not lawful. This is what the law says. Let's implement. If it's either you're not paying taxes or you're paying taxes according to the law. So we got the institutions, some of them federal government institutions, to just pay their appropriate taxes. And we restructured the Board of Inland Revenue. And the Board of Inland Revenue today, as far as I know, does not do anything outside of the law. And these tax laws are federal laws. They're not laws applicable to only Edo State. Edo has only been a lot more efficient in implementing the laws. The issue in Edo is not tax charged by the state government as per those federal laws. The issue is one of extortion. The people who are complaining are not even in a formal tax bracket. So when people talk about double taxation, how am I double taxing you who have not captured in my tax net? I only have 160,000 people who currently pay tax to me as government. I'm sure many more thousands of people are being extorted by all sorts of agencies, all sorts of, tiers of government. You go to a market, for instance, the state is not in charge of the market. That's within the remits of the local government. That's where I'm going to, as governor, sit down and understand what you exactly are doing, how much you're charging people, the basis for charging them, and where the money is coming to. Because I'm like you, I'm lost. All of these monies are taxes are supposed to be paid, particularly to the local government. Meanwhile, they can't pay salaries. They can't pay pensions. So
but you've got to understand
taxation.
that the average Nigerian is not necessarily encouraged to pay tax because he doesn't believe that the services are there in the first place.
Well, that's the case.
So how are you going to
that's what is different.
balance that?
That's what is different in Edo. You can see your tax at work. I don't know if you were here 8 years ago and you're here now, you'll see a marked difference. You can see roads being built, you can see schools being refurbished. We do not owe a dime on state government salaries. We pay as civil servants on time. Up to 2009, you had people work for government for months, teachers were never paid. So government is carrying out its responsibilities as government and doing it efficiently. But what's different is we're honest about it. You can go to the website and see how much we collect as tax and from which institutions. And you can see also how we spend the money. Because manna is not going to come from heaven. It's only us, the citizens of Edo, that can develop Edo.
All right.
So the issue is about making the tax burden fairer, getting more people in the tax net, so you don't leave the tax burden on a very few people in society.
That's my other question I wanted to ask, certainly, because the point there is, you mentioned earlier on that not everybody who is taxable are paying taxes. So how are you going to expand the net and bring those people so that Edo can benefit and then even create services?
I think the first thing is to make give a whole taxation process a human face. you have to make people, want to pay tax. And most people in Edo want to pay tax. What is wrong is the way that we have gone to some of these organs of government particularly the local government level, have gone about it. Hiring contractors and police. And in that process, you do not know what is being collected as rates or levies and what is just pure extortion. Because I'm not seeing those monies coming into the coffers of government. If they were coming, I would say yes, at that level, we are making progress. But no, you're going in, extorting people, seizing their wares, charging them in their stores, but the bulk of that money is not coming. So we're going to sit down with our people. And I, for instance, will call communities of traders and say, this is the number of stalls here. These are the number of you. We think this is what we should pay. We'll agree. And then you will find out, from what we've done at the state level, we find many institutions comply voluntarily. We've tended to deal with those areas of that the state is responsible for. We now need to extend that to the general public. Say, let us give our taxation collection process a human face. Make people want to pay tax. Explain it to them. Let it be transparent. Use more technology to capture people into the tax net. And I'm positive once you explain to people and people see, they will respond accordingly.
Okay, so talk to us more about your 10-point manifesto. Itemize them as much as you can, especially the major ones, that are very close to your heart and what you want to, see put in place as soon as you get into the seat of power.
Okay, I'm focusing mainly on 6. First is the civil service. Just rebuilding that civil service institution, retraining, ensuring that you hire more into the civil service, more qualified professionals, because the civil service has been depleted. The last PDP administration, in their wisdom or stupidity, retired almost 7,000 civil servants and did not hire. And so it's very comical when you hear them today talk about the death of personnel resources. They came in and, the very sad thing they did was they retired the whole corps of very senior civil servants. They actually wiped out the permanent secretary corps in one fell swoop because they wanted to put compliant people, their relatives, their friends, as permanent secretaries. So that has haunted the civil service till today. So the first thing I need to do is to still get the civil service together, work with them, put in a lot of resources, particularly in the training and in rebuilding confidence, rebuilding the systems and processes. Because once we have that as the bedrock and the basis for good governance, then we can now talk about implementing the rest of our policies. And what are they going to be? We will continue to strengthen those areas that provide infrastructure, roads, refurbishing our school systems. But we will now put more emphasis on human empowerment. That's human empowerment, empowering the youth, empowering women, and creating jobs. For the youth, which I think where we have a crisis, the first thing we will do is to document the problem. They say there is massive unemployment, but ask, okay, how many young people between the ages of 18 or 16 and 35 maybe in Edo State are unemployed? What's their profile? How many of them went to school? How many of them finished secondary, tech or university? Let me even understand the size of the problem. Once with that profile, we then quickly begin to provide solutions. And one thing we will do is spend quite a bit of money on hiring teachers to provide technical training in both our technical school and vocational schools. We will emphasize we will emphasize technical education much, much more. My goal is that everybody we have captured must decide on a vocation, on a skill. And one thing we will do is spend quite a bit of money on hiring teachers to provide technical training in both, at technical school and vocational schools. We will emphasize more, we will emphasize technical education much, much more. My goal is that everybody we have captured must decide on a vocation, on a skill, and make the facilities available for them to be trained. So whether you want to be an artist, you want to be a musician, you want to be a hairstylist, you want to make, and we'll also show you where the opportunities are, say in the construction industry, in electricity, that we have already done. We'll dimension where opportunities are across the economic chain, and then begin to, systematically train our young people to think about careers, jobs in these areas, and begin to reorient them and say, yes, it's important to have degrees, but degrees in themselves should lead to a purpose. Degrees don't feed you, right? Degrees should equip you with the knowledge to be able to do things for yourself.
All right, good. We'll come back to this, certainly. There are other questions I'd like to ask from that. But what are the people saying? Edolites, what do they expect from their governorship candidates, whoever emerges? So let's play you this report now to get to hear from the people themselves what they want their governor the next governor to do for them.
I bet me better one enter. Make changes there, those states. Now I want.
We go for our body. Now me they pray for. May God bring our comfort.
What we need in this Edo State, we need good leadership.
The government we expect for Edo State will be a governor of the people. The governor who will care for the less privileged in the society. A governor who will keep to the promise.
The governor that we enter now, I pray that God Almighty will use him to do the right thing. That God will fill him with good wisdom.
We expect our leader to be one who fears God, of course, and one who will lead us in a direction that will be able to change the face of the city.